Hello friends, today we will learn about cardiovascular system. Cardiovascular system consists of three interrelated components, that is blood, heart and blood vessels. The branch of science concerned with the study of blood forming tissues and the disorders associated with them is hematology. Human has closed blood vascular system. In this system, blood is pumped through a closed system of heart, arteries, veins, and capillaries without coming in direct contact of body tissues or body cavity. Blood flows at high pressure. Physical characteristics of blood. Let's know about physical characteristics of blood. Blood is slightly alkaline. Blood constitutes about 20% of extracellular fluid, amounting to 8% of the total body mass. The blood volume is 5 to 6 liters in an average sized adult male and 4 to 5 liters in an average sized adult female. Let's know about functions of blood. First function is transportation of oxygen, carbon dioxide, nutrients, hormones, heat and waste. Second is regulation of pH, body temperature and water content of cells. Third point is protection against blood loss through clotting and against disease through phagocytic activity with blood cells and antibodies. Let's know about components of blood. Blood is a connective tissue composed of a liquid extracellular matrix called blood plasma that dissolves and suspends various cells and cell fragments. So blood has two components: blood plasma, a watery liquid extracellular matrix and contains dissolved substances and formed elements which are cells and cell fragments. First of all, let's know about blood plasma. Blood is about 45% formed elements and 55% blood plasma. When the formed elements are removed from blood, estro when the formed elements are removed from blood, a straw colored liquid called blood plasma is left. The separation can be either achieved by just leaving the blood undisturbed, but sometimes leading to settling down of the cells or by centrifuging them. Blood plasma is about 91.5% water and 8.5% solutes, most of which are proteins. Some of the proteins in blood plasma are also found elsewhere in the body, but those confined to blood are called plasma proteins. Hepatocytes synthesize most of the plasma proteins, which include the albumins, globulins, fibrinogen, like this. Albumin 54% of plasma proteins, globulin is 38%, and fibrinogen is 7%. Fibrinogen is an important clotting factor produced by the liver. During the process of clot formation, fibrinogen is converted into insoluble threads of fibrin. Thus, the fluid from clotted blood called serum does not contain fibrinogen, but it is otherwise identical to plasma. Formed elements. Let's know about formed elements. The formed elements of the blood include three principal components, that is red blood cells RBC and WBC, white blood cells, and platelets. RBC and WBC are whole cells, platelets are cell fragments. RBCs and platelets have just a few roles, but WBC have a number of specialized functions. Several distinct types of WBCs present in blood are neutrophils, lymphocytes, monocytes, eosinophils, and basophils. The percentage of total blood volume occupied by RBC is called the Hematocrit or packed cell volume. A hematocrit of 40 indicates that 40% of the volume of blood is composed of RBCs. The normal range of hematocrit for adult females is 38 to 46%, and for adult males it is 40 to 54%. In polycythemia, the percentage of RBCs is abnormally high and the hematocrit may be 65% or higher. This raises the viscosity of blood, which increases the resistance to flow. The process by which the formed elements of blood develop is called hematopoiesis. Before birth, hematopoiesis first occurs in the yolk sac of an embryo and later in liver, spleen, thymus, and lymph nodes of a fetus. Red bone as the main source of blood cells after birth and throughout life. In newborns, all bone marrow is red and thus active in blood cell production. As an individual grows and in adulthood, the rate of blood cell formation decreases. The red bone marrow in the medullary cavity of long bones becomes inactive and is replaced by yellow bone marrow, which is largely fat cells. Now come to RBC, red blood cells. Let's know about red blood cells. Red blood cells contain the oxygen carrying red blood cell contain the oxygen carrying protein hemoglobin, which is a pigment that gives blood its red color. A healthy adult male has about 5.4 million RBCs per microliter of blood, and a healthy adult female has above 4.8 million. The cytosol of RBCs contains hemoglobin molecules. These important molecules are synthesized before loss of the nucleus during RBC production and constitute about 33% of the cell's weight. Each RBC contains about 280 million hemoglobin molecules. RBCs are highly specialized for their oxygen transport function because mature RBCs have no nucleus. All their internal space is available for oxygen transport. RBCs have a biconcave shape which offers at least three advantages. First is if surrounded by a hypotonic solution, the RBC can swell considerably before bursting. Second point is the biconcave shape is best suited for binding along the middle. And the third point is this shape has a large surface to volume ratio which increases the efficiency of oxygen transport across the RBC membrane. RBC live only about 120 days because of the wear and tear their plasma membranes undergo as they squeeze through blood capillaries. Ruptured red blood cells are removed from circulation and destroyed by fixed phagocytic macrophages in the spleen and liver, and the breakdown products are recycled. This is brought about the macrophages of the reticular endothelial system. Now come to white blood cells. Let's know about WBC or white blood cells. Unlike red blood cells, white blood cells have nuclei and do not contain hemoglobin. WBC are classified as either granular or agranular depending on whether they contain conspicuous chemical filled cytoplasmic granules that are made visible by staining. Granular leukocytes include neutrophils, eosinophils, and basophils. Agranular leukocytes include lymphocytes and monocytes. Monocytes and granular leukocytes develop from a myeloid stem cells, and lymphocytes develop from a lymphoid stem cells. Now come to granular leukocytes. Eosinophil contains eosinophilic granules and stain red-orange with acidic dyes. Basophil contains large basophilic granules and stain blue-purple with basic dyes. The granules of a neutrophil are small, evenly distributed and pale lilac in color. The nucleus has 2 to 5 lobes. As the cells age, the number of the nuclear lobes increases because older neutrophils have several differently shaped nuclear lobes. They are often called polymorphonuclear leukocytes, PMNs. Now come to a granular leukocytes. Even though so-called agranular leukocytes possess cytoplasmic granules, the granules are not visible under a light microscope because of their small size and poor staining quality. The nucleus of a lymphocyte is round and stains darkly. There are two types of agranular leukocytes, lymphocytes and monocytes. Lymphocytes are usually the second most numerous type of leukocytes. They are small cells with round nuclei and little cytoplasm. The lymphocytes are of two types, beta lymphocytes and T lymphocytes. Beta lymphocytes protect us by producing antibodies that combine with antigens and thereby target pathogens for destruction. T lymphocytes on the other hand directly destroy any cell that has antigens. Monocytes are the largest of the leukocytes and generally have kidney or horseshoe-shaped nuclei. The color and appearance are due to very fine azurophilic granules which are lysosomes. The blood transports monocytes into the tissues where they enlarge and differentiate into macrophages. Now come to functions of WBCs. In a healthy body, some WBCs especially lymphocytes, can live for several months or years, but most live only a few days. Leukocytosis, an increase in the number of WBCs above 10,000 or microliter, is a normal and protective response to stresses such as invading microbes, strenuous exercise, and anesthesia and surgery. An abnormally low level of white blood cells is termed leukopenia. Now come to platelets. What do you mean by platelets? Let's know about details about platelets. Besides the immature cell types that develop into erythrocytes and leukocytes, hematopoietic stem cells also differentiate into cells that produce platelets. Under the influence of the hormone thrombopoietin, myeloid stem cells develop into megakaryocyte colony forming cells that in turn develop it into precursor cells called megakaryoblast, which transform into megakaryocytes. Use cells that splinter into 2000 to 3000 fragments. Each fragment enclosed by a piece of the plasma membrane is a platelets. Platelets break off from the megakaryocytes in red bone marrow, and then enter the blood circulation. Between 1,50,000 to and 40 lakh platelets are present in each microliter of blood. Each is disc-shaped 2 to 4 micrometer in diameter and has many vesicles but no nucleus. Platelets help stop blood loss from damaged blood cells by forming a platelet plug. Their granules also contain chemicals that, once released, promote blood clotting. Platelets have a short lifespan, normally just 5 to 9 days. Aged and dead platelets are removed by fixed macrophages in the spleen and liver. Let's know about blood clotting. Normally, blood remains in its liquid form as long as it stays within its vessels. If it is drawn from the body, it thickens and forms a gel. Eventually, the gel separates from the liquid. Color, the straw-colored liquid called serum is simply blood plasma minus the clotting proteins. The gel is called a clot. It consists of a network of insoluble protein fibers called fibrin, in which the formed elements blood are trapped. The process of gel formation, called clotting or coagulation, is a series of chemical reactions that culminates in the formation of fibrin threads. Blood clotting involves several substances known as clotting factors. These factors include calcium ions, several inactive enzymes that are synthesized by hepatocytes and released into the bloodstream, and various molecules associated with platelets are released by damaged tissues. The fundamental reaction in the clotting of blood is a conversion of the soluble plasma protein fibrinogen to insoluble fibrin. Vitamin K is a fat soluble vitamin that is needed for the post translational modification of certain proteins required for blood coagulation, that is factor 2 or prothrombin, and 7, 8, 9. It is involved in the carboxylation of glutamate residues in proteins to form gamma carboxyglutamate residues. Anticoagulant action of coumarin group of compound, example dicumarol, is due to their homologous structure to vitamin K, and hence they inhibit clotting. There is no factor VI. Hemoglobin, hemophilia A, B, and C occur due to absence of blood clotting factor 8, 9, and 11 respectively. Let's know about anemia. Anemia is a condition in which the oxygen carrying capacity of blood is reduced. All of the many types of anemia are characterized by reduced numbers of RBCs or a decreased amount of hemoglobin in blood. Among the most important causes and types of anemia are inadequate absorption of iron, excessive loss of iron, increased iron requirement, or insufficient intake of iron causes iron deficiency anemia, the most common type. Second is inadequate intake of vitamin B12 or folic acid causes megaloblastic anemia, in which red bone marrow produces large abnormal red blood cells. Insufficient hematopoiesis resulting from an inability of the stomach to produce intrinsic factor, which is needed for absorption of vitamin B12 in the small intestine, causes pernicious anemia. Vitamin B12 is essential for normal RBC production and maturation. Excessive loss of RBC through bleeding resulting from large wounds, stomach ulcers, or especially heavy menstruation leads to hemorrhagic anemia. Plasma membrane of RBCs rupture prematurely in hemolytic anemia. Hemolysis, the rupture of RBC, occurs either by external factors as in invasion of RBCs by malaria parasites, or because the cells are defective as in sickle cell anemia, sickle cell diseases. Deficient deficient synthesis of hemoglobin occurs in thalassemia, a group of hereditary hemolytic anemia. Destruction of red bone marrow results in aplastic anemia. It is caused by failure of the bone marrow to produce enough RBCs, and even though all ingredients necessary for erythropoiesis are available. Reduced erythropoietic capability can be caused by destruction of red marrow by toxic chemicals, heavy exposure to radiation, and invasion of the marrow by cancer cells or chemotherapy for cancer. Now come to heart. Anatomy of heart. The heart is located in the mediastinum. About two-thirds of its mass is to the left of the midline. The heart is shaped like a cone lying on its side. Its apex is the pointed inferior part, whereas its base is the broad superior part. The pericardium is the membrane that surrounds and protects the heart. It consists of an outer fibrous pericardium and an inner serous pericardium. Forms a double layer around the heart. Between the parietal and visceral layers of the serous pericardium is the pericardial cavity, a potential space filled with a few milliliters of pericardial fluid that reduces friction between the two membranes. Now come to layers of the heart wall. Three layers Three layers make up the wall of the heart: cardium, myocardium, and endocardium. The epicardium consists of mesothelium and connective tissue. The myocardium is composed of cardiac muscle tissues, and endocardium consists of endothelium and connective tissues. Now come to chambers of the heart. The heart chambers include two superior chambers. One is left and another is right atria. The two inferior chambers, the right and the left ventricles. The right atrium receives blood from the superior vena cava, inferior vena cava, and coronary sinus. It is separated from the left atrium by the interatrial septum, which contains the fossa ovalis. The blood exits the right atrium through the tricuspid valve. The right ventricle receives blood from the right atrium. It is separated from the left ventricle by the interventricular septum and pumps blood through the pulmonary valve into the pulmonary trunk. Oxygenated blood enters the left atrium from the pulmonary veins and exits through the bicuspid valve. The left ventricle pumps oxygenated blood through the uh, aortic valve into the aorta. aorta. The thickness of the myocardium of the four chambers varies according to the chamber's function. The left ventricle with the highest workload has the thickest wall. The Thebesian valve guards the opening of the coronary sinus, and Eustachian valve guards the opening of inferior vena cava. The opening of superior vena cava and pulmonary vein are not guarded by valves, therefore to prevent backflow of blood, these are placed in an oblique manner. Now come to heart valves and circulation of blood. As each chamber of the heart contracts, it pushes a volume of blood into a ventricle or out of the heart into an artery. Valves open and close in response to pressure changes as the heart contracts and relaxes. Heart valves prevent backflow of blood within the heart. The atrioventricular AV valves, which lie between the atria and ventricle, are the tricuspid valve on the right side of the heart and the bicuspid or mitral valve on the left. The semilunar SL valve are the aortic valve at the entrance to the aorta, and the pulmonary valve at the entrance to the pulmonary trunk. The heart is uh, two separate pumps. The left side pumps blood to the body and the right side pumps blood to the lungs. Each side has an atrium and a ventricle. The left side of the heart is the pump for the systemic circulation, the circulation of blood throughout the body except for the air of the lungs. The left ventricle ejects blood into the aorta and blood then flows into systemic arteries, arterioles, capillaries, venules and veins which carry it back to the right atrium. Let's know about cardiac muscle tissue and cardiac conduction system. The cardiac muscle fibers usually contain a single centrally located nucleus. Compared to skeletal muscle fibers, cardiac muscle fibers have more and larger mitochondria, slightly smaller sarcoplasmic reticulum, and wider transverse tubules, which are located at Z disc. Cardiac muscle fibers are connected via end-to-end intercalated disc. Desmosome in the disc provide strength and gap junctions allow muscle action potentials to conduct from one muscle fiber to its neighbors. Some specialized cardiac muscle fibers are called autorhythmic fibers because they are self-excitable. Autorhythmic fibers repeatedly generate action potentials that trigger heart contractions. These rare fibers have two important functions. They act as a pacemaker, setting the rhythm of electrical excitation that causes contraction of the heart. They form the conduction system, a network of specialized cardiac muscle fibers that provide a path for each cycle of cardiac excitation to progress through the heart. Components of the conduction system are the SA sinoatrial node called pacemaker and AV atrioventricular node. Atrioventricular bundle, AV bundle or bundle of His, bundle branches and Purkinje fibers. Now come to heartbeat. What do you mean by heartbeat? It is the spontaneous rhythmic contraction and relaxation of the heart to pump out and receive the blood to and from the body. When the heart beats, first two atria contract at the same time, then two ventricles contract at the same time, then all chambers relax. The heart contracts or beats about 70 times a minute and each heartbeat lasts about 0.8 seconds. Now come to intrinsic control of heartbeat. The human heart is a myogenic heart. This type of heart does not require outside stimulation. The rhythmical contraction of the atria and ventricles is due to the intrinsic conduction system of the heart. Nodal tissue, which has both muscular and nervous characteristics, is a unique type of cardiac muscle located in two regions of the heart. The SA node the SA node is located in the upper dorsal wall of the right atrium. The AV node is located in the base of the right atrium, very near the septum. The SA node initiates heartbeat and automatically sends out an excitation impulse every 0.8 seconds. This causes the atria to contract. When impulses reach the AV node, there is a slight delay that allows atria to finish their contraction before the ventricles begin their contraction. The signal for the ventricles to contract travels from the AV node through the two branches of the AV bundle before reaching the numerous and smaller Purkinje fibers. The AV bundle, its branches, and the Purkinje fibers consist of specialized cardiac muscle fibers that efficiently cause the ventricles to contract. The SA node is called the pacemaker because it usually keeps the heartbeat regular. If the SA node fails to work properly, the heart still beats due to impulses generated by the AV node. But the beat is lower. To correct this condition, it is possible to implant an artificial pacemaker which automatically gives an electrical stimulus to the heart every 0.8 seconds. Now come to extrinsic control of heartbeat. Heartbeats at a fixed rate due to inherent property of the fibers of SA node, but it can also be controlled by nervous and hormonal mechanisms. Now come to nervous regulation. Center of heartbeat regulation in the brain is medulla oblongata. The sympathetic nervous system having accelerator nerves increases the heartbeat by secreting adrenaline hormone, whereas the parasympathetic nervous system supplying with vagus nerves decreases the heartbeat by secreting acetylcholine. Now come to hormonal regulation. Hormonal thyroxine secreted thyroxine secreted by thyroid gland increases heartbeat indirectly by increasing basal metabolic rate, which requires more oxygen. Epinephrine and norepinephrine secreted by the adrenal medulla also have a role in regulation. Epinephrine increases the heartbeat in an emergency, whereas norepinephrine increases heartbeat under normal condition. Now come to cardiac cycle. The cycle of evently which occurs in a single heartbeat is called cardiac cycle. It involves repeated contraction and relaxation of the heart muscle. Contraction is the systole and relaxation is called diastole. The heart is said to be in a state of joint diastole when all its four chambers are in a relaxed state. A cardiac cycle takes about 0.8 seconds and is subdivided into many phases such as isometric relaxation, atrial diastole, ventricular systole, ventricular diastole, like this. Isometric relaxation. This is the first phase when all the valves are closed and atria and ventricles are relaxed in diastole. Now come to atrial diastole. Both the atria are filled with blood when the atria and ventricles are both relaxed. At first, the bicuspid and tricuspid valves are closed, but as the atrial get filled with blood, their increased pressure eventually becomes greater than that in the relaxed ventricles and the AV valves are pushed open. The SL means semilunar valves remains closed. This phase is also known as the rapid filling phase. The blood flow into the heart then ceases as the pressure in the heart equals that in the vein supplying it. There is then a brief period of diastasis when there is no movement of blood at all. At the end of this phase, the two atria contract simultaneously and it results in the blood being pumped into the ventricles. This is called atrial systole. Now come to ventricular systole. When the contraction of ventricles occurs immediately after atrial systole, the pressure in the ventricles rises and closes the atrioventricular valves, preventing blood from returning to the atria. Then the pressure forces pressure forces to open the semilunar valve of atria, aorta, and pulmonary artery to make entry of the blood into these vessels. The closing of atrioventricular valves during ventricular systole produces the first heart sound loop. It is low pitched and marks the onset of ventricular systole. Now come to ventricular diastole. During this, the semilunar valves are closed because the blood is forced back into the ventricles due to high pressure developed in the vessels. This causes the second heart sound of it is high pitched and marks the completion of ventricular systole. Let's know about blood pressure. Blood pressure is the arterial pressure of blood exerted on the wall of arteries with each heartbeat. Sphygmomanometer is used to measure blood pressure, usually in the brachial artery of the arm. The highest arterial pressure, called the systolic pressure, is reached during ejection of blood from the heart. The lowest arterial pressure is called the diastolic pressure. Diastolic pressure occurs while the heart ventricles are relaxing. Blood pressure is expressed as a ratio of systolic pressure and diastolic pressure. Normally, resting blood pressure for a young adult is said to be 120 mmHg over 80 mmHg or simply 120 by 80. The higher value is the systolic pressure and the lower value is the diastolic pressure. Actually, blood pressure varies throughout the body. Blood pressure is highest in the aorta and the lowest in the vena cava. It is customary, however, to take the blood pressure in the brachial artery of the arm where it is usually 120 by 80. The difference of systolic and diastolic blood pressure is called pulse pressure. The ratio of systolic, diastolic and pulse pressure should be in the range of 3:2:1. That is 120:80:40. Both systolic blood pressure and diastolic blood pressure increases with age. Systolic blood pressure increases more than diastolic blood pressure due to decreased distensibility of arteries as their walls become increasingly more rigid following arteriosclerosis with advanced age. Now come to cardiac output. The amount of blood flowing from the heart over a given period of time is known as cardiac output. Cardiac output equals the stroke volume, the volume of blood ejected by the ventricle during each contraction, multiplied by the heart rate, the number of heartbeats per minute. That is cardiac output ml per minute equals to stroke volume, that is ml by beat, into heart rate, that is beats by minute. In a typical resting adult male, stroke volume averages 70 ml per beat and the heart rate is about 75 beats per minute. Thus, the average cardiac output is 70 ml per beat into 75 beats per minute equals to 5.25 liter per minute. This volume is close to the total blood volume, which is about 5 liters in a typical adult male. Now come to Electrocardiogram, that is ECG. An electrocardiogram is a recording of the electrical charges that occurs in myocardium during a cardiac cycle. Blood fluids contain ions that conduct electrical currents, and therefore the electrical changes in myocardium can be detected on the skin surface. When an cardiogram is being taken, electrodes placed on the skin are connected by wires to an instrument that detects the myocardium's electrical changes. The cardiogram can measure the rate and rhythm of the heartbeat as well as provide indirect evidence of blood flow to the heart muscle. A typical ECG tracing is like the different waves that comprise the ECG represent the sequence of depolarization and repolarization of the atria and ventricles. The P wave represents the wave of depolarization that spreads from SA node throughout the atria and is usually 80 to 100 ms in during. The PR interval is the delay between the beginning of activity in the atria and the ventricles. In adults, normal PR intervals range between 120 and 200 milliseconds. The PR interval shortens at high heart rates and increases at lower heart rates. The QRS complex indicates the onset of contraction of the ventricles. The shape of the QRS complex may be modified by a number of physiological factors, that is example body position and breathing patterns. In normal adults, the duration of the QRS complex varies between 60 and 100 milliseconds. Blood vessels. The cardiovascular system has three types of blood vessels: the arteries, which carry blood away from the heart to the capillaries, and the capillaries, which permit exchange of material with the tissue, and the vein, which return blood from the capillary to the heart. Now come to arteries. Arteries carry blood away from the heart. Arteries have a thick elastic layer to allow stretching and absorb pressure. The wall stretches and recoils in response to pumping. Thus, peaks in pressure and are absorbed. The arteries maintain pressure in the circulatory system, much like a balloon maintains pressure in the air within it. Now come to veins. A vein starts by the union of venous capillaries, leading to the formation of venules, which then join and forms a vein. Venules drain blood from capillaries into veins. Veins have thin walls and a large lumen and cause less resistance to the blood flow. Veins often have valves which allow blood to flow only toward the heart when open and prevent the backward flow of blood when closed. Since the walls of veins are thinner, then can expand to a greater extent. At any one time, about 70% of the blood is in the veins. In this way, the veins act as a blood reservoir. Now come to capillaries. Each capillary is an extremely narrow microscopic tube with one cell thick walls, composed only of endothelium with a basement membrane. Capillary beds are present in all regions of the body. Consequently, a cut to any body tissue draws blood. Now come to fluid. Interstitial fluid. The exchange of substances between blood and the body cells occur in the capillaries. Capillaries are specialized for exchange of substances with the interstitial fluid. No cell in the body is more than 100 micrometers away from a capillary. This is the thickness of 4 sheets of paper. Interstitial fluid surrounds and bathes the cells. This fluid is continually being replaced by fresh fluid from blood in the circulatory system. Body cells take up nutrients from the from the interstitial fluid and empty waste into it. Now come to circulatory routes. Blood vessels are organized into circulatory routes that carry blood to specific organs in the body. The two main circulatory routes are the systemic and pulmonary circulations. The systemic circulation includes the arteries and arterioles that carry oxygenated blood from the left ventricle to systemic capillaries, plus the veins and venules that return deoxygenated blood to the right atrium. The largest atrium in the systemic circuit is the aorta, and the largest veins are the superior and inferior vena cava. The superior vena cava collects blood from the head and chest and the arms, and the inferior vena cava collects blood from the lower body regions. Both enter the right atrium. Among the subdivisions of the systemic circulation are the coronary circulation and hepatic portal circulation. Now come to pulmonary circulation. In the pulmonary circulation, blood from all regions of the body first collects in the right atrium and then passes into the right ventricles, which pumps it into pulmonary trunk. The pulmonary trunk divides into the right and left pulmonary arteries, which branch as they approach the lungs. The arterioles take blood to the pulmonary capillaries, where carbon dioxide is given off and oxygen is picked up. Blood then passes through the pulmonary venules, which leads to the four pulmonary veins that enter the left atrium. The pulmonary arteries take oxygen, pour blood to the lungs, and the pulmonary veins return blood that is oxygen rich to the heart. Compared to systemic arteries, pulmonary arteries have large diameters, thinner walls, and less elastic tissues. As a result, the resistance to pulmonary blood flow is very low. Now come to lymphatic system. The cardiovascular system is considered a closed system because all of its tubes are connected with one another and none is simply open-ended. In another sense, however, the system is open to diffusion through the walls of the capillaries. This process is a necessary part of the functioning of the circulatory system, but it poses difficulties in maintaining the integrity of that system. The lymphatic system has three main functions that contribute